No, they're doing this live stream.
Te Māori, everyone.
Yep.
Welcome to our July 2021 formal meeting. Health and safety, we have no public in the room, so we won't go through health and safety. We will start with our opening karakia.
Right.
Tēnei au, tēnei mātou, e whaikaunihira, e kāwenga I ngā whakatauna, I ngā tikanga, ki uta ki tae, kia rewa ai ngā iwi katoa o te taitura. Haumie, huie, tae kie.
So it looks like we're up to item 3. Looks like we do have an apology from Stuart. He hasn't managed to join us. So I'll no other apologies. I'll move that apology be accepted. Thank you, Colin. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 4, declarations of conflicts of interest we'll take as we go, unless there's any currently. Item 5.1, confirmation of minutes. Chris, you've got one slight correction.
Yes, the minutes for the meeting on the 15th of June 2021. Actually, the item relating to the confirmation of minutes only talks about the 18th of May set being true and correct. It should actually read the 18th of May and 19th of May.
Extraordinary meeting.
Could I have a move and seconder for the minutes, please? Thank you, Justin and Marty. Any other matters arising? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. 5.2, the action sheet. Could I have a mover and seconder,
I'll move
please? Rick and Joss,
Thank
thank you. Matters there. People would like to comment on or have clarification on?
Oh, just wondering if there's been any response from FNDC in regards to our leader in establishing a wastewater working party.
Not that I'm aware of. Malcolm, nothing?
No, I haven't seen
No.
anything.
It wasn't necessarily the expectation that they would reply, but no, there hasn't been anything.
I understand normally we receive a letter, you do write a reply back.
Yeah. That would just be conversation with the CEO. It's addressed to Sean, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else on those actions? All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 6.1, representation arrangements review, initial proposal. We have, I'll take recommendation 1, move and seconder.
Yep.
Rick and Amy, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Accepting? Carried. Oh, do we want to take the rest of them?
Yeah, I'm happy to do that. Move.
2 to 6.
Yes.
Right, moved
I'll move
Rick,
those.
seconded Marty, thank you. Discussion.
Oh, 8.
Oh, sorry, I never.
Sorry,
Yeah.
Page.
I've just, could we put some pause a moment? I've just got Stuart trying to connect.
Oh,
He
okay.
can't. Could we just go to the
Yeah,
gym
sure.
just for 5 minutes?
Yeah.
And just,
Okay, we'll adjourn the meeting for 5. Where you go?
Yeah, I think.
Hello, can you hear me? There we go.
Okay, welcome back, everyone, and welcome to Stuart, who has now been able to join us. We can't hear you, Stuart. I saw your lips move, but I couldn't hear you. So.
Okay,
Oh, there you go. All good.
how's that?
Perfect. Okay, so Stuart, we're up to item 6.1, which is the representation arrangements, and we are. Did I get a move and second for 2 to 8?
You did, I moved those 8. That's
And
2 to 8. Yeah.
2 to 8. So is there, I see that we've workshopped these.
Sorry, there's actually 2 to 9. There's one of the
Oh.
recommendations
where's
has
that?
fallen off. It should read that due to the tight
Oh,
legislative timeframe, so the review won't be receiving late submissions.
okay, so
No, we won't be receiving.
Oh,
that
yeah,
submission.
yeah.
Yes,
right at
okay.
the bottom.
So it's just a form
Oh,
of
okay, there was a digit.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll second the inclusion of that.
So yeah, we've had workshops and we've had gone through our Te Tautokerau Māori advisory group. And yes, I do note that at the bottom, we won't be able to accept late submissions due to time constraints. Any discussion, or Ben, would you like to comment? Straightforward.
I don't have too much more to add, really. Maybe just I can give you a quick overview of sort of the comms approach that we're using. Okay, so sort of the key things we're going to be doing is a virtual hui, where so people can link in. And so we've got Amy, I think you're on that. Are you joining us on that?
I think it's been discussed. I don't think we've got a date for it yet.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Sorry, the
The virtual
The
hui.
virtual hui.
I
think we've got it.
it's been muted. 17th of August, is it?
19th of August, and it's in the evening.
Yeah, 6 till 7:30.
So we're hosting that. There's also going to be some TMAC members on that virtual hui. So we've got that. Usual social media markets. Understand, is it Robin's been in contact with you individually about organising within your constituents? Awesome, and a media release. Yeah, so we're all pretty much ready to go out the door starting on the 10th of August.
Great. Nothing further?
Well, just for the public benefit, just the options really speak why it should go ahead. It allows us to progress it, and if we delay it, it's going to be too late. So delay progress, and it must be the 31st of August 2021 deadline.
That's right. Thanks, Marty. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Item 6.2, Ngā Tōmata o Te Moana, our NRC Climate Change Strategy and Implementation Plan. Oops. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Amy. And Amy, would you, because there have been some changes to this.
Yeah. Sorry, it's getting there on the agenda.
And there's something that's going to be tabled, some additions to the recommendations, is it?
Yeah, so sorry. I just wasn't quite sure how we do this, but thank you, Jono, for supporting me. So we've got an updated version, like a revised version that we've all seen, which we will table today. And so just a change to resolution 2, just to put in brackets as tabled, Chris, if that's all right. And then an additional resolution, I don't know if you want to speak to this, Jono, but that the GM Environmental Services be authorised to make any necessary minor drafting, typographical, rounding or presentation correction to the Ngā Tōmata o Te Moana strategy and or implementation plan prior to it being published publicly. So I think have you got those already?
Yep. That's fine.
So I don't know, do I just put those out there and we?
It's fine. The minutes will reflect that.
Okay.
We've got the amended version here, and yeah, if there's any further tweaks, the delegations to cover.
So the amendments to this document are no way major, are they?
Correct, Chair. So there's just some corrections that have been made. A couple of those were in the transition from one document. So my apologies for that. But there's no significant change to the documents. We're just looking to see consistency, and there are a couple of things here. The additional resolution is just our stock standard delegation to the GM should any other minor amendments, drafting, corrections need publication.
No, okay.
I just think that the suggestions I made are just so very minor, they come into the category of minor adjustments. Left up to the chairman.
Okay, good, thank you. So yeah, it's a great document and quite a milestone for NRC. Well done to everyone involved, especially you, Matt, and Jono, and Amy. Well done, awesome. And it will certainly become our strategy and our goals from now on.
I looked at those settings. I think it's a magnificent document. I think it's a big step up for us. And I'd really like to thank Matt and the whole team for putting it together. One of the things I really like about it is the fact how we stage the work that we do. And I think we've taken a great strategic approach to figure out, well, the list is endless, but what do we need to do first? And I think it's a really intelligent way of addressing the many issues that we have to face. So well done, everybody.
Yeah, and important to remember, of course, that any strategy is a living document and will be added to, or probably not subtracted from, but certainly added to. Okay.
To that as well.
Yeah.
Sorry, Penny. Yeah, so I mean, pretty much wanted to say the same things that you guys have said. Particularly want to acknowledge the staff that have done such incredible work to get us to this point, and it is a big moment that this is coming to us now. And an opportunity. I feel really privileged to be part of the political leadership on this issue, but only able to feel confident in that leadership given the confidence we have in the technical leadership within our organisation. So many thanks to Matt and the team, and yeah, really excited to be able to be part of this decision today. And just also to my fellow councillors, I'd like to acknowledge your support as we've got to this point, but also thank you in advance for your ongoing support, because really today is the point at which we finalise these documents, but the real hard work comes from today onwards. And so I'm looking forward to working with you all as we progress and make some big changes and show that leadership for our region. So yeah, just excited about what this means in terms of where we go from here. So thank you.
Sure.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Item 6.3, biosecurity operational plan. There are 3 recommendations there. Could I have a mover, Jack? Seconder? Rick, thank you. Jack, all staff, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Just for everybody, this operating plan is a statutory document that we have to use every year. And because we've got a fairly ambitious regional pest management plan, it's also incumbent upon us to reflect everything that we need to achieve in the 10-year plan on an annual basis through the operational plan. So it's undergone a number of iterations. Now it's in the place where I'm extremely proud of it. I think it's a fantastic document. It gives us KPIs in all areas, which is something previous plans didn't always do. So it means that we ensure that what we intended to set out to do in the regional pest management plan will be achieved, and it makes us all accountable. I'd just like to point out that some of our KPIs here are quite ambitious, particularly in regarding to marine, carrier dieback, and deer. And they will require, and they've got really detailed and ambitious KPIs as they need to have, because they're areas of much concern to the region. So I'd like to thank staff for putting all this together. For the first time, there's actually a political, political/admin KPI in the deer program, which is something that we've threshed around and agreed that we're going to have a crack at getting results. I think we will, but it's I guess it means that council as a whole will need to focus, not just staff, council as a whole will need to focus on those KPIs. So yes, thank you everybody. I think it's a document we can be proud of.
Thank you, Jack. No one else? Okay. For a movement seconded. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. 6.4, appointment of investment and property subcommittee.
Also move.
Thank you, Colin. Seconded, Justin. The two recommendations there. So Terry has kindly offered, and it's been accepted that he become part of that committee. Any comments?
I don't think we need any discussion. I think it's a good move, Jerry, and thank you for coming on. And thank you for attending before you were showed a bit of commitment there, so thank you.
Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Item 6.5, natural and built environment bill. A good discussion topic this morning and ongoingly. So there are three recommendations there. Could I have a movement seconded, please? Amy moves. Jack seconds. Any discussion? I think with Joss and I being named there, it certainly doesn't mean that other councillors can't give feedback to us. So please, I do encourage you to do that if you would like to. I did question why Malcolm didn't want to be there, but he'll have enough oversight anyway. And thank you to Justin for the work that you've done so far. And it's next Wednesday is 4th, isn't it? So that's when it has to be done by. So yeah, there's not a lot of time. Good weekend exercising, Joss. Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. 6.6, CEO recruitment, job description and personal specifications. So this has two recommendations. Could I have a move and seconder, please? Move Joss.
Yep.
Seconded Rick, thank you. So this has been through our panel. We're all quite happy with it. Any discussion, Joss?
Just a couple of points. There's actually a couple of typos in there still, so can those please be corrected before it goes out. There's one that's just been missed. That was a correction that hasn't been removed, and there's a spacing issue in there. But other than that, it's good to go.
Thank you. And yeah, thanks to Joss and Amy who had input into that, as well as all the panel. It was a good joint effort, and I think we've come up with an improved JD and personal specs.
Chair, just given that you've identified that there are some typos, whether you shouldn't just add it the recommendation the same as you did with the earlier resolution, just confirming. And I think in this case, Bruce, given it's a major issue.
Do you mind if I add that to the previous one, representation and the other documents, that they all have that same clause on the typos? Is it too late to add that to the representation one?
So that is already in there.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
We've delegated it to Ben to make any
cheers.
minor amendments.
Thank you.
So we'll have another recommendation that Joss will move.
Yeah, happy to do so. Any minor amendments be delegated
So
to,
we had Councillor Yeoman and Councillor Stolwell.
Group manager corporate.
Yeah, you're okay with
Excellent.
thank you, Rick.
Yes.
delegated to group manager, corporate excellence. Thank you.
So it's just that one that we have to move now, isn't it? So all those in favour of recommendation 3, stock standard, aye. Against, carried.
Sorry, team, my fault. I should have sent that through. I completely forgot about it. All right.
John, I didn't ask if you wanted to say anything about the operational biosecurity plan. Did you have any comments?
Councillor Paul covered it all. There's been a really good process with the working party and the TNAC members to get to what's been on the agenda today. Similar to Councillor Paul, I think it's really good operational plans. A few areas there that are ambitious.
All right, Danny, no comments? Stuart, all good?
All good.
Okay, so we'll move on to item 7, operational reports. 7.1 is health and safety report. We have just the one recommendation there. Could I have a mover and seconder? Move Joss, seconded Marty, thank you. Any questions or comments? Amy.
I just had a little comment just about the on page, sorry, where am I? 140, just that last bullet around the workplace bullying, and understand the context for that. The only thing I was going to say is just that last sentence talks about mitigating risk, and it talks about training interventions to build staff resilience and psychological safety. And I think it's just worth probably, if we're talking about this, always also referencing the work that we do proactively to enable good management. Do you know what I mean? That's a mitigation which focuses on the victim or the recipient of the bullying. But I know the organisation does a lot of cultural work to ensure people aren't perpetrators of bullying. So I think it's just good to put that in there so that we can see the balance, that we look at both sides of the coin in terms of that. I'm not saying it's not happening, I just mean it would be good to record it.
So you want to record it today?
Oh, no, I don't mind that it's not there today, but I think if we are talking about that sort of stuff, it's good to talk about both sides of the work that the organisation does in the future. Doesn't need to be changed. It's fine.
We'll see that.
We covered this in our audit and risk meeting, and yeah, one of the things I'm still concerned about is the stress levels of our staff and that. But I'm, as chairperson of audit and risk, I feel very confident that Malcolm and staff have got that working on that, got that under control. And another one just come up. I just see this one of operating pumps and that. So that sort of may have come out of the blue, but I suppose I see we have getting things in place now with lifters and that. So it's always going to be a problem. You know, they call these things featherweight pumps, but they're not. They're not featherweight. So yeah. So, but yeah, I'd like to thank the staff. It's a good report. It's starting to really drill down into certain areas here. So well done. Thank you.
Yes, those audit and risk, which includes health and safety subcommittee meetings, are very interesting to attend and very informative as well. Any comments from you, Jenny? No. Jenny's been quite integral in our audit and risk committee, so thank you for that, and given us a couple of good risk workshops as well. Or yeah, very good risk workshops. So we have just, that was the one, wasn't it?
Just on that, the workshop, we are going to have a workshop on staff workload. That came out of there. That's correct.
Yeah, there's something coming.
I know we had quite a substantial discussion about it.
Yeah, I don't know that it's specifically on that,
Okay.
Colin, but it is about the risk matrix and the heat graphs, I think what's going to happen there. Okay, all those in favour of recommendation 1? Against? Carried. Okay, 7.2, the chair's report to council. Just one addition there, the meeting with Alan McKenzie, MPI, following the meeting with staff on Kauri that Councillor Craw also attended that meeting. Other than that, I'll move. If there's a seconder. Thank you, Amy. Any further questions?
See you, board.
Pardon?
In entirety.
No, the chair.
No, that was the chair's report.
Just me. Okay, all those in favour?
Aye.
Against? Carried. So now we move on to 7.3, the Chief Executive's report. Could I have a move and seconder, please? Moved Amy, seconded Joss, thank you. Questions, comments? the questions that I sent through.
Yeah, I'll forward those
Yeah.
to Jim, so if you want to run through those maybe.
Chair, so I see Colin's not in the room, but he's just sent me an email with some responses, so and I haven't read the email, so I'll have to just read it out cold. The question related to next steps following the microplastics presentation. He said 2 officers doing most of the current work have planned to discuss the work with planning staff, although it's not envisaged to make changes to our plan at this stage, given where it is in the process. There's an opportunity to expand our advocacy work, much of the same as we have decided to do in regard to vetting district council land use and subdivision consents to check that they have adequately addressed water resilience. We have also recently met with Auckland Council staff, and one of the topics discussed was stormwater quality management, including plastic removal. We intend to feed off some of the work Auckland Council is doing in this space. It needs to be remembered that Auckland Council is a unitary authority and so also has responsibility to meet, and I presume that should read, obligations under the Litter Act of 1979. STA has the responsibility for litter management. We also intend to provide a report to our district councils on the subject and request them to do more to reduce the escape of litter from the reticulated stormwater systems they own and manage. Chair, then there was a question on resourcing for monitoring networks. The short answer is that we've assessed this to the best we could when developing the current LTP. We think we should be able to do this in the near future until the next LTP, but challenges may come to light once we start implementing and operating the new system, the network system.
So that was to do with the testing of additional non-conventional water chemistry.
Yes, that's right.
Those recommendations, yeah. Okay, thank you.
So I think the other group managers here can talk to.
Yeah, so I guess I had another question on how's, just an update on how's it going with our ability to fulfill on the NPS fresh water?
It's a big question, because
Just general, you know, is it going good or are we?
so the NPS obviously touches on lots of parts of the organisation. In a general comment is we think we're okay.
Yeah.
Obviously we've got a lot of work in the planning policy space to carry out. We think we've got the resources to do that. And across the rest of the organisation, we've been through the LTP process. The NPS informed that, and so we've got new positions, etc., on board to help implement it. So as a general statement, we think we're okay, but it'll sort of time will tell as things sort of pan out on how we go.
If I could add to that, I think now that we see with what freshwater farm plans are looking like and what the process and the role of regional council is with freshwater farm plans, I suspect we're going to have and we will come back and work with the council submission at the moment on those documents. We'll come and workshop with you on that. And part of that will be trying to have a bit of a crystal ball as to what that's going to mean for us. This time, we've seen that next level of detail as to what our role is going to be, how the system is going to work, and then hence what the impact is going to be on us. So it may be a little bit more work, or it might be reallocation of existing resources. Again, like you can see, I think just in this space, we'll stop. It'll be as we learn more, as the detail becomes clearer, we'll have to just have that conversation with council.
Annual plans and things like that. So.
Correct.
I have one small item, page 160, Prosperity Field Near sightings at on the River Reserve. Have we got any confirmation back from DOC about allowing bus to start access to that land yet?
I don't know the answer to that question. It's just one I can go away and find out. But thank you. Yep.
If someone one over here.
Yeah, I've got it.
Sorry, Rick.
No, I just wanted to, did not go past without acknowledging the transport alliance, so it's been the 5th anniversary, and you know, we've had a lot of bad press in the about rural roads in the last few weeks, but they're doing an awesome job, and I feel that it is a public meeting, the RTC, so you know, you're welcome, obviously, but members of the public come along and see what they do. So they've done a great job over the last 5 months. So I definitely want to thanks Malcolm for those words as well.
Thank you, Rick. And it was at Northland Forward Together, it was pleasing to hear the district councils endorsing the good work of NTA. Well done. We're getting there.
Just on page 59, just I'd like to acknowledge the coast care. We have a real pleasure of Territory Peninsula being planted there, the local people and 4 or 5 schools involved. Yeah, fantastic day. And it's good for the community.
Chair, I just noted one of your other questions that you reported was around the e-fund withdrawals. I haven't got the particular thing in front of me at the moment, but I think it's around 19% that we've had this year. That is what we generally get. And we have a paper that goes to council, and I'm sort of providing you this update as well, because we have a paper that comes to the next month's council meeting seeking approval for us to over allocate by 20%. We generally get about 20% of the withdrawals, just as landowners' situation changes. They thought they were going to be able to progress so much work, and then the situation changes. So I think this is just a case of we're consistent with what we usually experience, and we cater for that 20% withdrawal rate.
Thank you. I don't think I. Oh, yep, I was just, I think my last comment was development of an economic development strategy, and NSD have indicated that they've got some funding available for this, or put aside for this. Just as an update, which is great. Yeah, they're quite enthusiastic about it, so that was good to hear. Colin, you had something?
Yeah, I just want to pass on to the thanks to you and Rick, CDM, our CDM people. I know that they will start down to work in the neighbour there, assist that, and then to Westport. I think we still have 1 or 2 staff down there, so it's great to us as a region going to help.
Yeah, Chair, there was also a question just about stock exclusion regulations.
Just got to that. Yeah.
So I'm not sure whether Ben is able to comment on that, because I haven't had any feedback on that. Otherwise, we'll have to take that away.
Chair, I wonder, we're going to be having a workshop. There's quite a bit to both the freshwater farm plan proposal and the changes, or what we're consulting on around stock exclusion maps. We're going to be having a workshop with councillors in the next couple of weeks. And I wonder if that it's more than just a 5-minute discussion, whether we can provide the update to council then, and what submission or not the council may wish to put on these 2 proposals.
Yeah, it was probably just a yes or no answer I was looking for, but that's fine. We can talk about it then.
And then, because I thought your question was in relation to the hearings.
Yes.
Yeah, so the simple answer is no, they won't impact on those hearings. Okay. The judges only like to look at things that are actually signed and sealed. They're not interested in proposals and drafts. Yeah. And the timing of it, that won't be finalised by that date.
Okay, so I'll ask my following question at the workshop. Okay, that's it from me. Anyone else? All right, all those in favour? Against, carried. So receipt of committee minutes and working party group updates. First one. Biosecurity and Biodiversity Working Party.
We've just jumped on 8.1 as the receipt of committee minutes.
Sorry.
Yeah. So
178.
You'll move? Right.
I'll move that, definitely.
So this is just the acceptance, isn't it?
That's correct.
Seconder, Joss, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Carried. So now we go to 8.2, which is the update. So we'll start with councillor Core.
I've covered most of the items that would, in the last item on the operational plan, which was the major focus of our last meeting. But we also discussed the beer issue and what else did we discuss?
Oh, we're on.
202.
Really productive meeting, had a lot. Spartina eradication, one thing I'd ask for, it's an issue that's been festering away for many years. We actually thought collectively New Zealand was on top, was on top of Spartina, but apparently collectively we're not. No councils are, and it's an area that's hasn't been funded quite as as highly as we would like. But I guess the good thing is that people aren't still spreading Spartina, trying to reclaim land that we know of. And reclaim bits of intertidal for grazing. So I don't think the situation's got any worse, but it certainly hasn't got much better in the last 5 years or so. So it'll probably be an item that we'll be addressing later on and during the period of the pest management plan. And it may be something we need to come back to you for added funding. We had a really great presentation on pest fish from our biodiversity manager. It's, it's something that we do really well here, and I think something we need to celebrate. Remember that we were the subject of a New Zealand Geographic story a few months back, and it's something we excel. We're doing the best job of any council in New Zealand of dealing with dune lakes. And we're doing it with a pretty small budget. We do have one extra person in the team as a result of, thank you, as a result of the LTP. So, so I guess we'll probably still have good news stories coming forward as we go. And some dune monitoring stuff. There's a lovely story on dune monitoring there. That very small team's doing a fantastic job, and you'll see there was a little item in the city's report about that. So, we've got our meetings around like 4 times a year, I think. So a few and far between, but we've got another one coming up next month. No, September now, October now. So so that's it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Jack. Any questions for Jack?
Oh, just a comment to the chair, Jack, regarding the myrtle rust issue. Yeah, our community organisation, Bukanga Habaki, we held a myrtle rust biosecurity herd, which was attended by scientists from Scion and Plant and Food, and they visited quite a few nurseries that we'd suspected a myrtle rust outbreak, and confirmed that there was no myrtle rust outbreak, much to our relief. But it highlighted how difficult it is to identify, because they had actually confirmed it via photos that we'd sent to them initially. But yeah, it's positive news. But we took them up and showed them some outbreaks in the Waima Ranges, and Ramarama up there, and they basically said that we've got to keep a really good eye out, because it's spreading and it's just getting more and more out of control. It may actually become an issue with species like Manuka and Kanaka as it sort of spreads as it spreads across the region. So yeah, it was a good outcome. Thank you.
So what did the trees have? Was it just something else?
There's other fungal diseases that have got very similar symptoms to myrtle rust. Yeah,
it doesn't kill the plant.
No. Oh, and we found out some really good information, like myrtle rust itself. It's not a systemic disease, so trees can potentially grow out of it. Like if it's infected, it doesn't go through the vascular system and spread right throughout the plant. So yeah, it was worthwhile touching base there with some of the scientists that are out there. But what it did highlight was that there's a real disjunction between the science community and the sort of on the ground groups that are trying to do all this work across Northern. So we've got some pretty good outcomes and made some good connections with those scientists. And,
yes, out of every crisis, there's opportunity.
Yeah.
Just as a final question on that, they're finding that some species within those areas where a large part of the species are affected by it, there's subspecies coming through that are.
There's natural resistance certainly within populations, and we've got some ongoing research that we're hoping to get off the ground along with plant and food and sign. That's looking at some wider monitoring programs, and particularly in Hokianga, just to see if it is increasing its sort of the the natural range of the disease, and what the prevalence is.
Can I ask, did you get a commitment from them that they will help?
Not a commitment, but
template for reporting.
well, what we're looking at doing, Jackie, is form a bit of a collective with some of the community conservation groups, and then apply for some funding, because what they basically said was MB ended up distributing the funding for myrtle rust.
Yeah.
And it basically had been all distributed. There was no other existing funding to carry out further research. So
Get back to me. Money's held by Biological Heritage, and I know all those people. So get back to me.
that'd be good. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to climate change working party. Amy.
Cool, thank you, Kenny. So obviously the main item of our working party discussion was the strategy and implementation plan, which we've already looked at this morning. Something I didn't say this morning, which is probably worth mentioning, is that both the strategy and the implementation plan went through a process of being reviewed by MTAG and TMAC. So it was really, really good to have their input and feedback, and really great to have Peter Tiffany, the co-chair of TMAC, provide us with the name for the strategy. That's really awesome. So now Taumata o Te Moana, it's really significant that they have supported it with that naming. So I just wanted to acknowledge that. So that was the core of our discussion. The only other thing that was discussed, which is not noted in these minutes, was just the opportunity in the future for the Climate Change Working Party, or I guess the council generally, to integrate more with what's happening in the transport space. That's an opportunity for us to look to. So, but yeah, it was a good meeting and got us to where we needed to be for this morning's decision. So, thank you.
And just note that there is a media statement going out, if it hasn't already, which is
Just
had input.
just a question to the chair, and it's probably more operational, but just given the recent TMAC hui at Mori and Marae, and particularly Umapu and Upanori, and communities that are actually facing severe coastal erosion already, like when, because there has been talk about sort of pilot communities to sort of roll out some of our adaptive planning and begin those discussions, and I sort of feel like our community is actually ready to have those discussions. So when are we likely to actually be able to provide some support at the local government level? Because I've fielded numerous calls from residents regarding coastal erosion.
Yeah, you're right. That did come through loud and clear, didn't it?
And also, just personal observation, at that hui at Moria, there seems to be a view that that retreat's sort of like the only option, and I just think that we need to be careful about how we message our view towards retreat, because some of those communities, there may be other options like Whirinaki itself. If you look at the geography of the area that potentially is going to be flooded, it may be possible and just as cost effective to provide like a stop banking initiative. So I would, I'd like that to be actually examined at the working party level, like, or maybe a piece of work done. I mean, it's a big bit of work, but it's like, it was saddening to go out to Whirinaki and hear them talking about, retreating and building up, on the hills, when I don't think that's necessarily the only option for that community.
I would think that that's the conversation that happens, because it's going to be different in different places. So, I mean, I'll be quite keen to hear from Jono, because we have had a bit of back and forth about where do we start, and do you have, I guess, are you able to
what I'm saying is that we supported Mike Smith going out there, and basically what he was saying was, you fellas are going to have to go and build up the hills, and we're already talking to Department of Conservation about, getting land for people to basically relocate on. And it sort of just sounded a bit presumptive that was, because like Hokianga, we've already done, they did huge reclamations in the 30s, and reclaimed large parts of the harbour, which was a negative thing, but that's been done before, and it's I don't think that retreat is the only option for our communities.
There's 5 options, but that will those discussions will take place at the working party level initially, and then they'll go out to the communities. Yeah. But yeah, there are 5 options of dealing with climate change. Apparently, I heard that the other day on the radio. So,
And just to clarify, Chair, if I could, part of the process is a process that we need to go through with our PA colleagues as well. So engaging with these communities, it can't just be regional councils.
No.
We don't have all of the tools in our toolbox, and we want to make sure that we're engaging with the community with all of the tools available. So that's one of the advantages of our joint climate change working party that we've got with both Tangata Whenua, district councils and regional council on it. And we'll be leading that committee through a process as well around collectively which are the prioritised communities around Tautakaro that we don't have enough resource to go to everyone all at the same time. So what's our criteria for prioritisation? What are the prioritised communities? And then having a real clear picture as to what our protocol is with those communities and what are the options? What can council do and what can communities do in these situations? Because yeah, retreat's not always the option. Just like hard structures aren't always the option.
I wouldn't want our communities to be held up by the TAs, lack of willingness to engage. They don't even want to talk about, what's happening in Open Market, because they've got a heap of land that they own, that they're just going to let erode.
And I think that's part of our leadership as regional council, and it's in the strategy that you've just adopted earlier on today is for regional council to take a leadership role in this political. And I would say that TAs are coming along for the journey as well, but we also need to know what our part of the jigsaw puzzle is, and we don't have all of those levers that we need when we have those conversations with the community. So I think it's a really positive why we've got that joint climate change committee that we can try hopefully bring everyone along for that journey.
yeah, it's important that we do it as a group rather than try and go out siloed, I think. And we have got the inter-council committees now on a staff level and a governance level, so we're well set up to go forward. So we'll move on. Te Tautakaro Māori and Council Working Party. Councillor Robertson.
Thank you. It's got a fair few of the questions answered down at the bottom half of the page, of course, but one thing that we're really focusing on at the moment is the strategic priorities. Just really finalising it as a subgroup to take to the whole of the TMAC working party for feedback, and that's with the goals, the six goals, which is tidying up the vision statement and the mission statement that is going to be able to take it forward. I've been really pleased with the working party itself. It's been well attended, which shows its relevance, and I think that's sort of allied largely with the representation and that Tangata Whenua are being well listened to and giving input, and it's been very, very encouraging. And the strategic priorities are to keep Te TMAC relevant to iwi and hapu, so that there's goals where there's actually achievements as a working party. I was pleased with Moria Marae Hui. There weren't too many people there, but it's really good for us to actually be out in the region. It's the first time for a long time. And there were a few that gave input from hapu, which was strong and vocal. And that was heard, which was good. So there'll be a good feedback, I'm sure we'll get out from that, that these aren't irrelevant hui, that we can go and give input and be heard and heeded. So that's all that I can see there, but if there are any questions, feel free to ask.
I'd just like to thank whoever it was who decided to invite Mike Smith. I thought he was inspirational.
Yeah,
it was focused brilliantly. So thank you, whoever's idea it was.
Lynette Whanaro.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I do know that Kelly Stratford from FNGC was very happy or pleased to have been invited as well. She found
Yeah,
it,
she took a lot from it. Those sort of last minute. I think we should be inviting whoever's role here we're in, whichever district, inviting them as a matter of course.
potentially that could probably go through TTMAC before that's actually actioned.
Well, I did request it of my co-chair.
Yep.
To invite someone from.
No, yeah, if we're going to make it an ongoing thing.
Oh yeah, sure. Yeah.
I think the initiative that we've put forward in our long-term plan have certainly helped with Te Tīmek feeling more included and listened to as well. So, all good going forward. Okay, thank you, Marty. So we're now moving to, oh, sorry, Rick.
Look, I just want to, it should have possibly come up in investment on property, but I just wanted to thank Public Ian Jinks, our forestry consultant, because he's resigned as of 30th of June, and he's been with us for 24 years doing forestry. So, although there was no place to comment here, I would like to acknowledge him in the public area. So he's done a fantastic job, and we did thank him on the day, and I will bring it up in anything confidential when I ask, but I think it's very important. He's done a great job.
Yeah, well seen.
So thank you.
And sorry, I didn't go through your
That's all right.
regional transport committee. Anything there?
That's right. We talked about it last time. Actually, we signed off our plan, so that's fine. Miss Toss has got anything for this one.
Yeah, audit and risk. Yeah, we had a very fruitful meeting, and one of the things that came out loud and clear, we had our Deloitte partner Peter Gulliver here, and he gave an overview of our audit plan, and the rapport that he's got with our staff is second to none. He was just very, very appreciative, and yeah, and he just said we are demonstrating best practices and that. So yeah, that was great. The other thing is our audit program, we reviewed that, and what we're going to do is take out for the next year or so, take out property management review and procurement review, and concentrate on fraud and corruption risk assessment. Yeah, so that's one of the things. Yeah, it's going to be a high priority there. So yeah, and also yeah, I did allude to I misinterpreted before. We are going to have a look at a workshop sometime, and just have an update, go through our top 20 risks. Yep, and that sort of thing moving forward. So, yeah, very fruitful meeting. Thank you, Andy. Okay, thank you.
Civil defence, right?
No, Jack sort of said it in terms of the meeting. There was nothing, but I mean, it's funny. They sat down after this meeting and relaxed a little bit, and then bang, they were full on into it again. So well done, the team. And Tony got back just in time, I believe. So he just scraped in. So he's back on deck. So that's very good. And it's not here, but it's ticking along very nicely. Well, thank you. And hopefully we'll have a quiet time now, but you never know.
They definitely did us proud yesterday. Our two managers. It was just the most interesting part of the day, along with Simon Weston, I thought. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Just a quick update on KMR, Kapara Moana remediation. It was mentioned that MSD have been very helpful with the Employment Hub initiative. So very pleased about that. And the Kapara Morikura is up and running as of 1st of July, and there's offices down on the ground floor now, which aren't so easy to get to while we're having renovations done, but they will be once we get the sliding doors in place.
Yes, Chair, so the first staff moved into the offices yesterday.
Cool. Excellent. And how many are there?
3 at the moment.
Okay, there'll be 15 altogether.
15 or 16.
Yeah.
What were those? What were those? Sorry? Staff for Marikura.
Year 2 work plan has. Oh, that's right. We're moving to 2 monthly intervals of formal meetings now instead of monthly. We're at that stage, which is good. We'll still have workshops in between, and sometimes 2, but Yeah, year two's signed off. Sorry, I'm just working through my notes here. We have an interim po tataki, Alan Wilcox. We have a hui tomorrow, which is going to be quite a big event down at Matakana, the marae there, and that will be sort of the handover between IKHNG and KMR.
At Tihana.
Sorry?
At Tihana.
Tihana, sorry,
Yep.
where did I say?
Matakana.
Sorry, Tihana, yeah, Tihana.
It's the one on the website, is it?
Yeah.
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 Okay, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yes, so that'll be a big day. Unfortunately, our chair, Tame Tarangi, won't be able to make it. He's been called away to Wellington, so he's got a good excuse, but it is unfortunate he won't be there. And anything else from Joss and Amy?
No.
Any questions around those meetings? Sorry, I missed them out.
That's all right, we sort of got them in the end.
I just comment, so that's 15 staff for the Kaipara Moana project.
Indicative.
There will be consultants as well.
Yeah, I mean, I've always voiced this, is that, it's imperative that we get as much money, focused on the ground action, and that, hopefully that it's not an overly administrative process to deliver that, the environmental outcomes that, are at the core of that project.
Certainly at least half of those staff, if not more, will be those land advisors that will be on the farm.
No, well, that's very hard, but just, to reiterate that.
That sentiment is absolutely
Yeah,
shared
cool.
around the
No, that's
table.
great.
So yeah,
Music to my
yeah,
ears.
And reinforced at every single meeting.
yeah. So yeah, it is.
Yeah, and you'll see that in the year 2 work plan.
Music to my ears.
Okay, so now we will close.
Just before we
Sorry,
do
I've
that,
got to move.
Yeah, could we just have a move on a second of
I'll
the working party updates and briefings?
Oh, I thought I'd done it, sorry.
That's all right.
Okay.
I'll move.
Marty moves, Justin seconds. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against, carried. Right, so I'll recommend that we move into business with public excluded. Second, Rick, thank you. All those in favour?
Aye.
Against,